this is working. I'm Aaron Winowiski. I'm the pastor of New Day Christian Church. This is not a sermon. This is an experiment in Facebook Live. Stuff tends to not work for me when it comes to technology. So, okay, thank you. I got some feedback. It's working. Good. So yeah, I'm not doing a sermon today. I'm telling a story as a way to practice. So as I was thinking, what could I do that could be a good test? I was looking at my bookshelf behind me, and I thought there are so many stories right there. So I thought I would share, as a way to test Facebook Live, one of my favorite stories. It's one of those stories that when the question comes up, what's something that most people don't know about you? This is one of my favorite answers. It's how I became a comic book pin-up. So it started 20 years ago. So it was before I was a pastor. I was working for the Boy Scouts of America, my first job out of college. There's a little picture of me and my son, who's 3 months old at the time. I know, if you can see there, I'm not trying to necessarily, but I think I'm kind of rocking like a Egon from Ghostbusters kind of thing. So, working for the Boy Scouts of America, my boss moved to the Portland area to work for the Boy Scouts there, and he invited us to come and check out that area. He thought maybe we'd want to move there. Portland today is known as the place that 20-somethings go to retire, so it seemed like a natural thing to check out. My friend at the time, of course he's still my friend, but for Michelle and I, he was a high school friend of ours. Craig Thompson also lived in Portland, so we thought this would be great. Spend a couple of days there with my old boss, and he can kind of schmooze us and show us the highlights. And then we can spend a couple days with Craig and experience the artist lifestyle in Portland. So we did that. And I remember spending some time on a longboard, like a skateboard, but longer. Cruising around the neighborhood, which seems like such a Portland thing to do, and that type of stuff. And then there was a day where we weren't sure what we were going to do, and Craig said, should we go to Mike's house? Mike who? And he said to Mike Allred. Well, Mike Allred is a comic book creator who created one of my favorite comic books from my formative years, Madman. He is a legend in the comic books industry, and Craig was just casually saying maybe we should go to his house. Craig Thompson, at the time and still, is in the comic books industry. He grew up in Marathon City and went on to create some of the most celebrated comics. At the time, he was working on a book called Blankets that on many of people's top 10 graphic novels, which is just a name for a really thick comic book. It appears on many of the top 10 graphic novels of all time. So, Craig Thompson had done some work with Mike Allred, one of my favorite comic book creators. He said, should we go to his house? So we made the drive from Portland to Eugene, Oregon, where University of Oregon is. And Mike was happy to host us. He was an amazing host. His wife Laura wasn't there at the time, wasn't able to go out with us. But we walked around the university campus with his daughter Kelby, who I gave her a frisbee lesson. I don't know if we brought a frisbee to Oregon. It seems like something I would do, but I don't remember exactly whose frisbee it was. He took us around University of Oregon, which is where the movie Animal House was filmed. So he showed us all the spots where scenes in that movie happened. I got to hear Craig and Mike talk about comic book industry things and get kind of the inside scoop on some of that. We had a wonderful day. They were amazing hosts. And after that journey, Craig sent a thank you to Mike after we had already flown home. And Mike was working on a comic at the time called The Atomics. And you can see this here is Madman appearing in The Atomics. And to our surprise, when that issue of The Atomics came out, inside appeared the thank you that Craig had drawn and sent to Mike Allred. So this is Craig's artwork appearing as a pinup in The Atomics #9, and we all appear as different characters within the Atomics. So here is Mike as Madman, and here's Craig, here's me, Michelle, Kelby with a frisbee, and little 5-month-old Preston in the stroller. So that is how we became comic book pinups 20 years ago. Now, Craig has a new book out that I want to make sure to recommend. It's called Ginseng Roots. This is autobiographical. This is him and his little brother growing up in Marathon, working in the ginseng fields, and it is an amazing history of ginseng, not only in Marathon County, where he grew up, but it goes through and talks about the history of ginseng in the world and why it would be such an important crop. So if you get the opportunity, check out Ginseng Roots when you get a chance. And if you're dying to know more about Mike Allred's work and Madman, this is Madman Atomica, the definitive Madman collection. And if you were to purchase this, you would find in it an oversized version of the pinup of my family, now in hardcover. So there is the answer to the mystery. How did Pastor Aaron become a comic book pinup? I thank you guys for tuning in. Lynette, Nick, super good to see that you were here. It seems like it's working. So we're going to continue experimenting and see if we can get this to work as a way to do some things for the church. And who knows, maybe up on this shelf there are other mysteries that will unfold in the coming weeks. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless you. Stay safe. Love your neighbor. Good night.